All right, we are live for our interview. We've got this awesome little interview slash webinar all designed for you guys tonight. As you all know, we've got our big Quantum Revolution tour in full effect happening in Miami, October 5th through the 7th. And we've been doing a lot of DNA talk. I know a lot of you guys got to participate in my second Sunday, and I planted lots of good seeds for you to kind of ask good questions about yourself. So tonight I thought that instead of you wondering what we're actually going to be doing on the tour, I'm just going to bring the experts into the house, because before I introduce Helena, I want to just give a little bit of a backstory about how her and I connected and how all of this just has kind of come to fruition perfectly, synchronistically, divinely. When I decided that I was going to go on tour and create these global activations, I really had no idea how that was going to look or how I was going to be able to do that. I just knew that that was my calling, and that was my next logical step in my own evolution as far as my gift to the planet as a channel. And as I began to plan that and step into that character and really become the energy of that, I started to receive a lot of downloads. And a lot of amazing downloads about how this was going to all unfold and how we were going to be able to expand human consciousness, how long it was going to take us, where we were going to actually do the first activation, and who would be there. I was told that I was going to have other people show up that were going to be specifically designed to help anchor, support, and generate the potential that I needed in order to really be able to hold the kind of space that we needed to hold for these 3 days. And that kind of space that we're going to be discussing tonight is the frequency of gamma. So we're going to get really nerded out tonight, really geek out, and we're going to talk about the science of spirituality and the science of human and raising consciousness. And I have Helena here, who basically we rendezvoused at the perfect moment. And when I was really starting to facilitate how I was going to really hold space to bring in a gamma frequency for 3 days, which we will be explaining the 369 a little bit hopefully tonight. I was told it was going to take 3 days, and I was going to need to stay in the frequency of gamma for 3 days. And I will tell you, I was a little bit afraid because running that kind of energy in your body, if you're not familiar with gamma, see, if you think about really deep meditation, you think about theta, and theta is more of like information, and gamma is like truth. So we're going to be talking about this frequency, and I wasn't sure how I was going to be able to do this, and then in walked Helena into my life, and was the perfect exact fit to complete the DNA activation process. So I wanted to just read a little bit of her bio if you guys are seeing her for the first time, because I know we're going live on my community page. Let me pull it up here since I don't have a split screen. Helena is basically a sound healer, and she is a renowned quantum scalar sound therapist, and she's the co-founder of quantumsoundtherapy.com. She's a pioneer. You know, she has been working with the greats all over the world. So I'm going to let her tell you a little bit about her and her journey and how she came into this, and how basically the work that she's doing is about 300 years ahead of the curve. And how when we found each other, it was wonderful because we were speaking each other's language. So Helena, thank you so much for joining me tonight on my community page, and we're going to be sharing this all over. So, tell my community, tell the quantum lovers who you are.
Yes. So first, thank you for having me, and thank you for being willing to do this work. It's really significant at this time, needed. And of course, it's a long, long story, but what we arrived at, I was a therapist. I went to University of Chicago and studied all of the academic stuff. And what we arrived at was that I ended up on my journey to the Far East in India, where I met the masters of gamma, actually, Jessica, and lived in that space, but had no idea what that was. And that was because of my dissatisfaction with what I learned in school.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah, I thought, well, thank God I had a scholarship, but because, I really felt that they didn't address the issues, I'll put it bluntly. And so, because humanity's suffering, I knew that from childhood. And so I went and lived with them and was immersed in the ashrams. I got to walk with Harikan Babaji, who is the teacher of Yogananda's teacher. He's an immortal, so he walks in and out of the dimension, which, by the way, is possible.
Oh, absolutely.
And, yeah. You should be doing this by October at the Quantum Revolution. Yes. That's what we're going to be teaching.
That's right.
Yeah, walking through timelines. So at any rate, I met up with them and lived in this space, which was gamma. Actually, what I learned is that the masters, I didn't know that at all then, but what they were doing is they were going from gamma frequencies into theta, into alpha, and leading their students. And so I lived there for a while, and then they sent me out to do my work. And eventually I decided I would not do anything if it was not efficient. I would not charge money if I felt it wasn't impactful on the subconscious level, because there was one other caveat, which was that several of these great, illuminated, avatars invited me to work as a therapist in their clinics. So I saw that even in their presence, the sound, the chanting, the meditation, the service, the seva was not actually penetrating at the level of the subconscious samskaras.
Yes.
What they call in India. So samskaras are what we call the blocks and the memories that stop us from actualizing from our quantum potential. So I said, I'll make a note of that, and went out back into the world and made this contract with the universe that I would not open my practice, which they told me to do, until I found something that was effective. And then I was told my mission was in sound. And I didn't know the scalar part yet. I hadn't remembered that. And so sure enough, a number of friends brought me Robert Loy. I actually went to Honolulu, University of Honolulu, and his technology showed up. And this is, I did want to address this tonight, because living in gamma, so we've developed technologies that are plug and play. And at our Quantum Revolution Tour event, you will be surrounded by these technologies. So we will be pumping out gamma frequencies and through the scalar coil. So the miracle looks like this. This is sacred geometry. And there are 6 coils inside of that cylinder. But basically, what's very important to understand at this time is that most of us are entrained in beta about 99% of the time. I mean, it's really become a high beta culture.
High beta. Mm-hmm.
Yes. And so in order to dip into other realms, other frequencies, you actually really need some support, because you're not getting a lot of support for that. And that's one of the reasons why technology is powerful. And I think why I've met up with Jessica is to support her work, because what we're doing in generating with quantum instruments, quantum sound technologies, we are generating fields of energy where we're sending very precise, well, we have a range from, of course, alpha to delta, but we'll be focusing on gamma at the event. But the range is, so you're receiving these sort of holographic sound packets, so they actually can enter the cells and your subtle energy field and shift your consciousness and your DNA. And once you entrain for 3 days in these states, you'll be permanently shifted.
That's right.
Actually, right? So the journey led here to meeting people, to meeting Jessica, actually, who's teaching exactly what we have been creating the tool for, which is how to use a quantum tool to accelerate, to shortcut your awakening. So you don't, and it's simple, so you don't have pain.
Right, you don't have to go through the suffering to get to heaven on earth. You don't have to walk through the fire of hell, right? So yeah, exactly. So why don't you tell, for people who are just hearing about this for the first time, like, how would you explain the frequency of gamma in your scientific terms, and then I'll explain it in my 4th grade terms, as I like to teach quantum theory.
Well, gamma frequencies is just one of the brainwave patterns, one of the sound frequencies that actually addresses the brain in a way, it's the highest creative state.
Yes.
So, and it is, what I realized years later is that it is where the enlightened masters are stabilized.
That's right.
Able to, but it's really just some free, it's all numerical in terms of our work. That's why it's so simple. It's kind of a no-brainer. It seems sophisticated and esoteric and woo-woo. It's not at all woo-woo. It's all completely mathematically derived. So but to stimulate the gamma brain waves, you would actually be stimulating a state or a frequency in the brain that would bring about your highest creativity and potential. So if you're able to stay, and the problem is people will pull you out of, things, events will pull you out. But if you can master that in yourself, you will live in an enlightened state.
Absolutely.
That's what it's about.
Absolutely.
That's simple.
Right. And my journey from gamma is very much the kind of the school of hard knocks. Like I taught myself to find the frequency of gamma through a series of panic attacks. And I would just set this intention that I would like to go above duality. I had no idea that when I decided to go above duality, that when I went from choice to truth, because to me, theta is kind of about that brainwave where you're in a state of non-judgment, but there's absolute choice. It's like being in the Akash, right? And then when I found this state of gamma within me, it was pure enlightenment where there was absolutely no pain, but all knowing. And it was all happening at the same exact time. And it was all mathematical and sacred geometry. And that's really where I pull from when I'm teaching. And I believe that when people say, Jess, your voice puts me to sleep at night and I go to sleep with the podcast. And really what it is it's not what I'm saying. It's the gamma frequency that I'm pulsing out of my body to give to you so that you can remember truth. And so when I was deciding to create these tours, I knew that I was going to be the vessel. I was going to be the cube, right? I was going to be the miracle. And for 3 days, I was going to stand in that presence and hold that space. And I knew that I could do that. But what I was missing was being able to, deal with if there was a technological issue, because we know that when we're channeling gamma frequency, we may be blowing out computer systems. We may be, like we thought about live streaming the event. And I said, I crash systems in theta. So when we're in gamma, we're basically at a satellite system with source energy, and we're not necessarily in communication with third dimensional electronics. So being at the event is going to be in source energy for 3 days. So and having that the technology pulsing through the music and the sound and the microphones and around the space is going to allow the maximum potential. Would you agree?
Absolutely. It's going to open up realms within each individual, depending on their receptivity at that time, to access parts of their consciousness that they've probably never accessed before. And it's a shortcut. You could do that in 3 days, or you could wait another 3 lifetimes. There's
That's
no
right.
question about it.
That's what I'm known for: cheat codes, shortcuts, hacking.
I love it. With the cliff notes.
That's why when I found you, because I've been obsessed with Nikola Tesla's work for the last 20 years. I mean, I went to my teachers and said, why is this material not in school? And my teachers didn't have an answer for me. And that's when I really went on my crusade about truth and, what were we being taught versus what is actual truth. And you're the first person that I've ever met that was not only aware of this technology, but creating it. And you have been creating this for how long?
40 in this lifetime, over 40 years, actually. Bob started, I met up with him 26 years ago, but he started creating Coils 40 years ago, and the voice analysis to remove the blocks, and no one understood what he was doing at all back then. And people so this is the tragedy of why people don't know this, is that it was removed when they dissed Tesla, when they decided to go with Edison. It was really, it happens every day in the business world. It was a business schmear. They just completely did like a marketing campaign against Tesla. And they said his stuff was dangerous. But what they did on a deeper level is removed all of his information from the curriculum.
Yep.
And so nobody knows about it. So that was why when we first started, you know, people actually now it's kind of beginning to trend. But when we first started, people really think you're from outer space, you know, and it's,
Okay.
you know, with the internet, because we can learn so fast, it's really changed a lot, even over the last 5 years. But the sad thing is it was this kind of knowledge of frequency and coils and free energy was removed, the 369, which is the secret of the universe. And it was removed from the consciousness. That's the part that is tragic, so that nobody knows. Like everybody knows, well, I know there's a table of elements. I don't know what it is, but I know there is such a thing. But with this knowledge, it's been removed. And actually, it's the source of free energy. It's the source of enlightenment. So this is the other thing about Tesla, is that though he was very known for his various experiments, one of his true desires was also to create technology that generated fields of perpetual evolution, so that it would direct people towards higher consciousness. He would say towards the spiritual. And so that's the big secret about him that's even more repressed. You have to dig deep. And that's exactly what our technology actually is designed to do. If you can stabilize gamma, you are in a very high frequency. Yeah, you might never work on a computer again, but
right. Well, and the combination between gamma and theta could create absolute time travel, and because of being able to access different worlds in absolute truth, where there's no time and space. And so I know I was talking to Melanie about that when we did our last interview, and she's obsessed with the Philadelphia experiment, which is the Nikola Tesla and Albert Einstein experiment, where they actually time traveled a large ship, which is very easy accessed information. So it's like all things that are possible are being rebirthed. And even though you've been working on this for 40 years, the time is now.
It's exactly. This is the time of awakening. Well, it's kind of like do or die right now. It's like awaken or suffer.
It is. Right? Well, and Earth is going through her gamma phase. And so basically what she's saying is evolve or, you know, let go or be dragged, right? And as she moves into her higher consciousness, we are kind of having to follow along with that, but we also have free will. And the belief systems of the third dimensional paradigm are so intoxicating. You know, our obligations and our problems and our belief of suffering and our broken hearts and our abundance issues, you know, and our horrible childhoods, all of these things keep our brain in that high beta that we talk about, which keeps your body in a perpetual state of fight or flight. So, you know, even for me, when I spent the last 7 years doing gamma coaching, basically what I've been doing is my program is called Master of Light. And when I'm teaching in the gamma frequency. But as soon as they're off the screen from me, they're left to their own mind, they're left to their own problems, they're left to their own devices, and then they need another fix from, you know, a teacher on YouTube. And what we want to do with these tours all over the planet is not just give you the fix, but to basically allow you to integrate your own gamma frequency so that you know what that feels like to be in a state of enlightenment. And then the only thing we need to do to keep that frequency is basically integrate that into reality. Because it's almost like, you know, if you've ever tasted anything, you can find the memory of that. And if you have that gamma frequency in your reality, all you have to go is back into that state of being, and you're in that state. You know, it's like, why did people use LSD and all of these super conscious drugs back in the days? Because they were trying to reach that gamma frequency through an altered state with no responsibility, mind you. So it wasn't the exact frequency they were looking for, but it did put them in a state of higher consciousness. And then the brain remembers, the body remembers that. So right now it's just so programmed with that high beta. all that past life regression you're doing, all of that like life coaching work that you're doing, it's great, but it's really hard to sustain when this matrix is saturating you with basically high beta.
And keeping you kind of enslaved to it as well. And so this is one of the keys, is not only clearing the environment, because there's also a lot of entity distraction at this time, but the constant brainwave entrainment. This is the purpose of these kinds of technologies, is that it's support. It's like having a combined
life support.
Yeah, exactly. And it's always the brain. And it's interesting because at the Quantum Revolution Tour, we will have a brain scientist who's a friend of mine, and the brain is a field. So it's all, like right now, Jessica's in my brain might be in like looking for some other information, but to speak truth, right? But it's looking for information. And the problem is, what does it pick up? It picks up, beta signals, anxiety, stress, deadlines. When you create a technology that's capable of creating a field that goes 24/7, you're actually capable of entraining 24/7 into the frequency of gamma. So it gives you a little support against the Maya matrix, which is pulling you constantly and knocking on the door, and making sure you're participating in high beta, high fear, anxiety, high cortisol, high adrenaline.
Yes.
And
keep you in that slave mind. Yes.
Fear. So the whole thing is to be able to get to the point where you're strong enough. You unleash the inner lioness. You fight to some extent. It's not even fighting. It's just becoming aware when you're getting sucked into the matrix, the Maya matrix. And
it is
all of us a million times a day.
To me, anytime I'm in gamma, it's like waking up from a dream and then you're in the truth. And we don't realize that anytime we're intoxicated or indoctrinated into that slavery mindset that's around us, that, no matter how much we use willpower, we're cause and effect beings, and we're at the disposal of our own empathy that gets sucked into affluence. So we are influenced beings. So it's like I could be feeling great, and then someone could walk into my space and tell me some really bad news. And because I'm an empathetic being, I am going to have compassion and empathy for that. And now I'm actually a vibrational match to that. But when I stay in gamma, right, I'm going to see that what is happening over there as a perfect unfolding of layered consciousness. And it's going to be exciting and divine, which means that you will still be able to have friends and family once you're completed with the tour. I think I should even just read some of the funny questions that I've gotten about this tour. I mean, I've had people genuinely scared for their life of, once I come to this tour, we're like, what is going to happen to me? Am I going to just combust into light and I'm not going to have my family anymore? And so I want to talk a little bit about like what a DNA activation is in your perspective.
Okay. So we've all been programmed and patterned, and we're carrying certain seeds of lineage. And and it's basically just filaments, when we are able to bring in a different light and frequency, we're able to activate the DNA into a new frequency, and drop some of the holograms that we might have been carrying before. And so it is a matter of blasting with light, but it does not mean that you dramatically have to change your life. It means that you might feel a lot lighter about the life you're living.
That's right.
You might fall in love with yourself. You might see yourself as a sparkling, radiant being that's here with a purpose. So it doesn't necessarily mean dramatic external changes at all, or even any changes. It's more of a state of being. When you reactivate some of the consciousness of your cells, you'll actually be able to live a freer life, a freer experience of you. So you just feel maybe a little more relaxed is more like it. So we're just infusing the DNA with a new vibration of light and frequency, which the planet is requiring of you right now, and doing it in a gentle, loving way. So you're probably hearing people are having difficulties. all kinds of difficulties. There's a major storm about to hit North Carolina. So it's a matter of just shifting the frequency of the DNA. And it's a very gentle process when you're doing it in alignment with your purpose. So
That's right.
Relax. It's great. You will be
Yes.
happy, maybe for the first time in your life.
Well, and how I can explain it too is because being not only a medical intuitive, but I call myself an atomic intuitive, because when I'm really focused in gamma, I can see past the physical structure, past the cellular body, past into the atomic structure where the original root agreements for this life path are. And when I look at a certain body, you know, we've got these 12 helix of DNA, and most of the planet only have 2 activated. And when we're doing, each DNA is about a different intention for existence. To have the whole thing play out means basically light body, right? So if we have these 2, we have 2, that means basically I am, and I can procreate. That's it. Which means I'm a perfect slave, because I can love and I can procreate, which means I can be controlled. So what we would like to do is remove enough density out of the cellular body, get the vibration into a place where the atomic structure can download a new intention. And through that intention, we can start activating more, because what I've noticed within myself is the deeper that I dig in my own alchemy process through the false belief systems and the limiting structures and the epigenetic codes of my lineage and my bloodline and my galactic line, and as I purge all of that out, the only thing that happens to me is I become more enlightened by working on myself. So what's happening is, and with the DNA, what comes with that is genius, is stronger physical bodies, as we were talking about before, immortality, right? So some of you don't know what your purpose is. Imagine if we got enough density out of your body, you would remember instantly why you were here. You would know that without a shadow of a doubt that yes, you're playing a 3rd dimensional reality game, but you're processing your life through a 6th dimensional frequency of truth. And that's where the game gets really fun, is to be able to live as the superhuman and be not just enlightened, but an example of humanity about what it looks like to really work within and expose the God self within, which I think is the true definition of the gamma frequency.
Yes, and it provides the pathway for you to become enlightened. That's what it is. So that you know exactly, you know, and that brings tremendous peace, I want to say. There's this weird angst that's in everybody right now, it seems. I don't know if I'm biased, but it just seems as though there's a little more concern about things. And I would say that when you're beginning to live in this state, even seeing others experience it, you will be at peace, so it's the opposite of your fear that things fall apart. That's not at all the intention. It is more to rediscover your divine self, your divine being, your reason for being here.
Right.
And there's like, one thing I would say about my own life journey is that because I have fulfilled my purpose, there's tremendous peace, no matter what's going on. And all kinds of things are going on, but I have tremendous peace in my day-to-day, moment-to-moment life, because I'm doing what I'm here to do. And that's probably because I was exposed at a pretty young age to beings carrying this frequency, and I recognized it. And so I really invite, and it's a very different way of exploring yourself than some of the conventional transformational events, I would say.
Yes, this will not be another workshop where you learn about enlightenment. It will not
intellectualize about it.
It will not be heavy shadow work. It will not be, you know, me standing on stage blasting about my story. You know, to me, I love the idea of being totally transparent, which means that when you see me, you see you, and you see your greatness. And I just can act as a mirror for 3 days to constantly reflect back to you, not only your pure positive potential, but to create a safe space. You know, in 2014, I opened Transcendence Wellness Centers with the intention that this is going to be a safe space to heal. Because in order for the body to receive a healing, to receive an upgrade, to receive a download, it needs to feel safe, because the whole system is designed to either be in fight or flight or in thrive. And I cannot heal my body if I'm constantly in the fight or flight feelings. So creating this 3-day weekend with just walking peace, as such as yourself, and someone who has said, yes, I'll be the mirror, and this amazing space that we're going to be creating, there's going to be this sense of excitement, but absolute peace and safety, because that's the number one thing that I work with light workers, is they don't feel safe. They don't feel safe to be here. They don't feel safe with their own empathy. They don't feel safe with their intuition. They don't feel safe with their fear. They don't feel safe with their own trust. And that is usually, trust is usually in the way of opening up those spiritual gifts. So, it's really important that they feel safe, they feel secure, they feel excited, they feel, all of the things, the feeling states, to get the body into acceptance, because most of the time they're in avoidance, which is the contradiction.
And denial. So one of the things that's, and I really do encourage people to realize at this time that this is a rare opportunity. It's like, it's going to be very high positive, high negative. I'm not talking about the tour. I'm talking about your experience in life. Yeah.
Your life tour, yes.
Yeah. The tour will be an exploration of bliss. I think it'll be really fun. But I believe that at this time, if you don't open this doorway now, you'll really slow down. And so there's a very rare opportunity, windows opening. And I want to say, like, we've even been told that people that reject our technology at this time, they won't see it again for 2 lifetimes.
That's right.
Because we're 300 years ahead. We have trusts up the kazoo all set up. It's really annoying 3-dimensional stuff, but so that it continues to be here. But I want to invite people to go inside, and a key thing with the gamma frequencies or any raising of your frequency is to begin to trust yourself alone. If you can trust yourself, you will start to receive more information. If you act on it, you will see you're correct.
That's right.
If you make a mistake, that's great. If you think you make a mistake,
yes,
it's great. It's fun to make mistakes, but we all do that.
It's a shortcut. I believe that every negative is a shortcut because it brings you closer to yourself. So I want to talk a little bit about what you were just saying, because I've been teaching that a lot, kind of in a undercover way for years now, about the split in the 3rd dimension and the 5th dimension, and why your guidance team is telling you that people who don't understand your technology won't see it again for 2,000 years. Is because this ascension process is basically, has been up until this point like 2 train tracks, where 3rd dimension and 5th dimension, and the gateway between those, the bridge that we both have, is the 4th dimension.
Yes.
And really what's happening is those train tracks are splitting, and it is becoming a 3rd dimensional reality, and it is becoming a 5th dimensional reality. And it is really asking you to find courage in yourself, to find love for yourself and for your own enlightenment, and seek the truth. And that the truth is whatever makes your heart come alive, whatever makes you feel free, whatever makes you feel abundant, whatever makes you feel non-judgment. Like, these are the things that if we would just feel into these things, then we would be a natural candidate for the upgrade process that's very underway on this planet, because it really has shifted. Like the Dolores Cannon work has taught us that it's literally, we'll go into a parallel reality where the 3rd dimensional reality will take another 2,000 years to move back into the place that we have access to right now. So that's why I've been every second Sunday and every energy report saying it's time to step into your truth, demonstrate your heart, trust yourself, act on your intentions, right? And be courageous, because the new timelines are unwritten. We get to write them, but not having certainty is very scary for those people, isn't it?
Well, it's the unknown. Is people don't like change, first of all, and then the unknown is unknown. So in many cases, people choose to stay safe, but it won't be safe anymore. That's the interesting thing about this time, is that if you try to cling, it will probably be removed. So it's not as though you can stay in those contracted modes. It might have worked like 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 10 years. It won't work now. So it's in many ways it's self-defeating. And I think at this time, what we have to do is, it came to me the other day, to find the lioness, that's courage and strength and fortitude, to really question when the fear is controlling the decision. So let's say you think, I don't have that kind of money, or I don't know if I can go through this process. If you're being guided, if you hear the knock on the door, there's a reason for it. You have to begin to trust. And stepping into the unknown there's also a level of greatness you will experience other new realities, different things. And I think it's that fear is still such a controlling paradigm for so many people and if you don't have it, someone around you will give it to you. They'll say, well, what are you doing that for? So it's supported culturally, which is a whole other issue. So I would say, many are still stuck in the fear paradigm, but it won't work. I know
that. It won't. And the only choice that we have right now is to trust, to have faith, to step into the light, to know that we will be divinely supported. Because there will be nothing other than your greatest fear left behind anyways. So the choice is step into the unknown or step back into pain, because it really is about a choice right now. Do we continue to suffer, or do we actually begin to integrate heaven on earth, where we can create endless opportunities for enlightenment through beautiful genius technology, like you said, that is simple and basic. This is for everyone. This isn't for people who just have a higher income rate. This technology that you guys have brought to the planet is for everyone.
It is. It is for the planet itself as well. So it's also a form of service because of which everyone's been taught, the quantum fields that are being generated actually travel in sleep even and reach people. So yes, and the other thing I want to say is that you always have to remember that the false fear is false evidence appearing real, but you've got to step through that fire. You have to. And that's where you find your divinity, because people are unbelievably powerful. I mean, we created all of this with no plan, no business plan, no marketing, nothing. It was just divine inspiration. That's why it's what it is. Because otherwise it's some business modality. It's really just divinely brought in from heart. So to miss an opportunity for your awakening at this time will set you back a bit. And it's only 2 lifetimes though. So
only
unless you're very slow to reincarnate, but that was a very precise, it gives you a time span that we're in a certain vortex. There's no accident when you meet Jessica. There's no accident when she begins to repattern. And there's one other thing I want to tell you. This is very important. We figured this out over time, that one of the other very significant things about the scalar technology is its ability to repattern, and our technology and frequencies is the deep delta repatterning. So some of these wounds we're carrying, these sadnesses, because that's what keeps us back. We're afraid of repeating certain disasters. But when you sleep, when you're in deep delta, your brain will naturally repattern. And that's the most receptive time. And people are having trouble with deep delta now.
That's right.
Because we're, getting notices all night and
overstimulated. We're an overstimulated culture that is constantly about, just over exhausted the nervous system and the body to keep you hyper aware and ultra busy, so that you will be distracted in your own rest cycle. Right.
It's true. We're getting more enslaved in a way.
Right.
So Yeah, so it's actually the consciousness is really, really, really important at this time, because at the same time, there's this huge vortex of light that if you step into that, your reality is completely different. Because this is the other thing I would like to say. One of the aspects of the scalar vortex that we create, manifest, is an accelerated ability to manifest. So what I've noticed about people and kind of the things I'm getting is that people are not manifesting, they feel a block in that. And that's, if you raise your frequency and clear the blocks, that's when you'll start. If you go to gamma, you'll manifest like that.
That's right.
And it's important to realize, if you just keep willing and struggling, it won't. That's desire, which is different. When you're in a state of clarity and in a state of gamma, even theta, but particularly gamma, you will create in light speed. And that's what everyone, I think, really wants.
Well, and that's what we know we are deep down. And that's why it's been so frustrating, because for, 25 years, we've been learning that, we create our own reality. And I could tell you that, 60% of the light worker community still doesn't believe that, because there's no evidence showing up because of the deep indoctrination of the slavery matrix. So we need to provide, not only with this tour, but teach this technology for everyday use. To me, there's lots of ways. So we're working to bring the technology to raise the frequency. And then there's lots of technology designed to lower the frequency. And that is through our sleep and our water. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the water that you guys have created, because we're also going to be featuring that with the Quantum Revolution Tour as a way to not only amplify and expand the consciousness, but allow that bridge between those parallel realities to really kind of finite in the destiny point. So why don't you talk a little bit about the quantum water that we're going to be featuring?
Okay, I'll show you. This is, just so you see, this is, I have some wrap on it, but I want to, this is a picture of the geometry of our water that was taken by Masaru Emoto and delivered to our offices. We were then in Oxnard, California. And you can see that perfect hexagonal geometry. And the key with that, and there's a lot of science supporting this now, the key with that is that it penetrates the inside of the cells and hydrates, but it also carries and delivers information directly into the cells. So there's the brain and the field of the brain, and there's our thoughts, and there's gamma brainwave frequencies, but we also need to, we also can carry, water is one of the best carriers of frequency directly into the cells. So because of this geometry, there's at the cell, it actually penetrates the inside of the cell. At the same time, it's carrying the frequency, and we program these using the scalar vortex technology, the miracle iQubes, and a bunch of other things. We pattern it with frequencies for all kinds of things. Right brain activation, just millions of things. And we have our own, actually, we have our own clean room that we sort of created bit by bit off of eBay and all kinds of things. Everybody was trying to get millions of dollars to do this, but Bob actually just pulled in all kinds of pieces. And that was when we were partners with Masaru Emoto, who is now on the other side. But we were actually spreading the frequency. So this water carries frequency directly into the cells. And actually, when we photograph auras, it completely, just some of it, in fact, I'm going to drink some, just some of it will clear the energy field.
And it's beautiful because we've got the technology outside of us, and then we'll have the technology inside of us. And so that's how, when people say, how are you going to do this in 3 days? We've thought of every step. We're going to have Melanie's concocting some alchemy bath salts to help a purification process in between. We've got dance. And to me, dance and music is what keeps the soul and the body together. Because sometimes when I'm doing really high gamma work and someone doesn't feel deserving or doesn't feel worthy, I notice that they kind of pop right out of themselves, like that they just jump right out of their body, like I can't really handle the frequency. But I've noticed that when we bring dance and we bring music into it, the body naturally stays in rhythm of the download. So now the body is moving and it's receiving the download through the frequency. So if someone has a belief system, I'm not worthy, and then enters a room filled with gamma, they're not going to be a contradiction to that, because belief systems do trump all frequency. So, but having just all gamma and a state of theta-based teachings, which is what we're going to be delivering throughout the weekends to clear and heal time, relationships, health, and money. Because it's time for light workers to be the most abundant people on the planet. And to me, abundance is about being totally free to create and love and play and expand. You know, most of us aren't even we don't even feel safe to love each other, you know, in fear of getting hurt. So, and that is our initial root purpose, is that we are love. So the first evening, I'll just kind of take everybody through a little bit of the weekend and how it's going to unfold. And again, we're leaving it up to spirit and intuition. So we have an outline, but we're going to show up and we're going to be led just as we should be, depending on who's there, depending on the climate, the energy of the space. What we're going to really acclimate and perform everything that we need to for the exact audience that shows up. So this may be a little bit here and there, but the Friday evening event, it's really a fun place. You got to see it when we took the tour of the hotel. It's like in this building that looks kind of like a spaceship, and the whole entire space is rose quartz, and it's a circular pattern. Have you noticed that most of the two spaces will be actually doing the DNA activations are circles?
Yes, amazing.
Mm-hmm. And if you understand sacred geometry about the conduit of that energy, it's going to be amazing. So we're going to have a heart activation that evening, and to kind of get you grounded off the airplane, get that energy, and get you really centered to be able to receive. Because the thing is the more the heart is open, the more the body and the mind will receive the upgrades. So the first night is really going to be about that. And then we'll have a beautiful sun meditation on the crystal beaches of Miami, which people are like, oh, Miami, but believe it or not, Miami holds a lot of crystalline energy in that sand that we're going to use as a conduit to really expand and bring forth the memory of the genetic pulse of Atlantis. So we'll be able to bring that up into our work that weekend. And after that sun meditation, and the purpose of that is to really open ourselves up to be able to receive the day. We'll go through, you know, what Helena is going to bring us through. And I want you to talk a little bit about your sound analysis, your voice analysis for a minute. Sure. And Melanie will take us through some quantum breath work. We'll have the water, and we'll finish the upgrade for the night. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, so what we'll be doing is measuring the group resonance through the group voice. So we'll be choosing an affirmation. So let's say, I really like this one, it makes people laugh because they don't believe it. I am madly and passionately in love with myself. Well, whatever the affirmation is, yes. So, and we'll state that as a group, and we'll be measuring the group resonance, and then we'll develop a soundtrack on the spot and listen to the frequencies as we probably do some accelerated evolutionary process. And we will also program some water while we're playing those frequencies, and then share that with the group. So that we're imprinting, so it gives you the complete quantum experience, analyzing the voice, figuring out what's out of balance in the group, then balancing that and drinking the water. So people can take that back into their night when they sleep and rest. And then we'll probably, I would guess we might play some gamma frequencies before or after, since we're going to be setting the tone as well.
Well, and after we have the event, we have to really, you know, show up as those higher selves. And so one of the ways that I teach people how to really become the frequencies that they've been immersed in all day is to then act it out. So what we've decided is to celebrate our work throughout Saturday and have a superhero ball with music and dance and celebration, and everyone is going to come dressed as their future higher selves. You know, the goddess, the lioness, the superhero, you know, who you wanted to be when you were a little kid, you know, and you actually come dressed, because again, the body learns through awareness of itself. So the more you act as if, the more the body believes in you. So it's an integration process that it will have the DNA activations, and then we'll play in those feelings and those activations all night long, and then we'll rest, and then we'll actually become divine healer on Sunday, as I'm going to lead everyone through a live quantum healing that the entire audience will be the healer. And I will show people how they are able to do this as we continue to help them upgrade through holding that space through gamma. The genius that will come through them, the answers to the questions that they'll have will blow their mind. And so before they go home, they'll already be living this. So they won't doubt, did it work? I'm home, nothing's changed around me. Am I enlightened? They'll actually have all of Sunday to become and act as if that gamma being, so that they can really take responsibility for their own quantum enlightenment and then go home with not only tools, but a deep imprint. So this is like super exciting that we get to do this. And we get to do a group interaction on Sunday that shows everybody who they really are. Because I always tell people, if you would just start doing it, you would know how to do it, because that's what gamma is. You don't know how to do it until you do it. You guys didn't know how to build this technology until you started doing it, right?
Absolutely. It's gone through 1,000 phases. And the other thing is, intuition is a form of genius. So we can also, I guess we'll also be focusing on just clearing the third eye, correct? So
yes,
with the gamma frequencies, and we have on our soundtrack, we have gamma and pineal activation, decalcification. So yes, absolutely. You don't know, I didn't know how to do this talk, did you? Until we did it. What we're going to
no, I just show up. Yeah, I mean, the magic for me is just having enough courage to show up. Yeah.
Yes, it's true. And to speak your truth. You speak your truth when you show up. Yes, so absolutely. And what's important is that in that area of Miami, Miami is 50 miles from Bimini, which is the closest vortex, which is that little island, to what was Atlantis. So for those that are curious, and I'm sure that we will probably rediscover some of that lineage in all of us connected, but it actually has that energy. That's probably why it became so famous, and then is what it is today. But it is vibrating with coral and crystal.
That's right. And that crystalline energy holds the remembrance of all 12 HELOCs activated and total enlightenment as a unified field of consciousness. So by us just allowing and accepting to be there, that energy is talking to us through us. So we have thought about every possible avenue to expand and clear and enlighten and hold space and demonstrate in 3 days. And with that, that's all we're going to need, because I don't believe that enlightenment is hard work. I don't believe the spiritual journey should be as hard as people make it. I think it should be a fun playground of self-exploration and self-realization. And I think we overcomplicate it, because, oh, I don't have the gifts that so-and-so has, and I can't see, and I don't know, and my empathy scares me because I can feel everybody's things. It's like, we don't realize that we're actually part of the problem when we vibrate, when we have our own superpowers used against us in our belief systems. It's time to really utilize what we came to the planet with, and then maximize that potential through unlimited possibilities instead of limitations. So it's really just about changing the whole cellular structure, the mindset, acting it out, and totally allowing that the rest of your life be exactly what it is that you need it to be for your greatest work on the planet. Not everybody is going to jump on a stage like I do, or become an inventor the way that you have, but everybody has a soul song and a message and a purpose that I know after this weekend, it's going to take a lot of courage for a lot of people to get here. Some people are flying halfway across the world. They're just crossing their fingers that, this is going to be valuable to them. I said, don't you realize that even taking that leap of faith, you're already 50% of the way there, because it's an intention, right? An intention is the easy button.
The easy button. I love that. And also following, with faith, taking those steps. This is a rare time. And when a teacher like Jessica shows up, there's a reason for it in your evolution. You created it. So I would suggest you listen, because she's speaking from a very real place. And enlightenment at this time is more about getting rid of the stuff that's not real.
Right. It's about lightening up.
Exactly. And doing your purpose is a big part of enlightenment. Knowing what you're here for. Just acting it out, though. Like not sitting in your room knowing what you're here and not doing it.
To me, that's the greatest point of suffering, is knowing that you have something really important in your heart to share and not knowing what to do with it, or not knowing how, or not feeling qualified, or not feeling smart enough, or not having the money. That to me is what hell on earth is, because it's like your own heart is in a cage constantly.
Yes. And when it's fear that's holding you back, it's like that's what has to end, is that, because that's a form of victimhood. You're actually a victim of an energy right there.
Yes.
And
yes.
You'll never feel right about your life. So overcoming the fear, like taking the step, because what's going to happen? You're probably going to learn some very valuable things. At this time, though, these are key moments. We've been waiting thousands of years for this time.
Yes.
So if you're here now, if you're listening now or in 2 weeks or a week, it's really important to realize that these times don't come again. These opportunities you've been waiting thousands of years. So you want to really check inside, be intuitive.
Yeah, and all you actually have to do to get on the 5D train, it's not like, you only have a 2-week window, but I think what you're saying is this time and space right now, it is really about, choosing to leave your comfort zones, choosing to leave your fears behind, redefine what obligation means to you, because, a lot of times I know, just having kids in a family, we can get very obligated to our old lives. And we can lose our joy and our freedom and our abundance just by behaving as someone needs us to. And a lot of times we awaken and our spouse doesn't, or our family doesn't. And we have to make that choice. Do I leave and start my journey, or do I conform and give up my desires? And I know that that's a huge wall for a lot of people. And it was interesting, as I was creating this tour, I had so many of my students say, I'm going to bring my husband. He may not actually come to the event, but he's going to come and be a support system for me, so that we fly on the airplane and stay in the hotel. And because what I'm teaching my students how to do is constantly speak their truth. And the less you live a double life, the more integrated and powerful you become, because it is the secrets that we keep from ourselves and our loved ones that keep us asleep, even though we feel very awake. And I think you're like me, Helena. It's like you and I are the black sheeps of the black sheep. We don't really fit completely in the scientific community. We don't really all the way fit in the spiritual community, because there's still a lot of walls and dogma and judgment. And we're in this bridge, right, between science and spirituality, where I'm comfortable not fitting anywhere and feeling totally free about that. I think that's really where we need to find ourselves, is allowing ourselves to not need to fit.
Absolutely. To find our own fit, to find our own tribe.
Yes.
It's great, because this is the new, and it's totally true. I've been in a number of spiritual communities. It's difficult because you always bump into these walls that often aren't really even imposed by whoever's leading the group. It's the group. These things. Yeah, I've had so many encounters like that where, so what I learned, and I think what everybody needs to learn, is this is the time where you must follow the intuition, who you are and who you're here to
follow your gut, not your guru's gut or your spouse's gut, or
they can't live your life.
Well, and they're not here for the same reasons you are.
This is the truth. They're here for their own reasons. And I think that's where people get so confused also. They want some role model and I've always had to, for many reasons, it was survival for me, the way I was wired. And I think a lot of people, high empathy, high sensitivity. I wasn't going to survive if I had followed other people's rules.
No, me neither.
I wasn't going to be the girl that played I was going to play sports or something. Dance was fine. But yeah, so it's an interesting thing. And I think one of the things we'll be showing is a lot of shortcut techniques that when you land back, I believe this is what Jessica's purpose is to show you the way to integrate it into your life, into your being. And then, leave whatever parts of ourselves we have to leave behind after that time frame. So,
yeah, and that's why we're offering a year of a free scholarship to our online academy, because the work is actually not going to end at this tour, it's going to begin, and to start a new perspective and a new viewpoint with a brand new body, if you believe in that, and really be able to step in. It's going to be the best to have a great support system doing that, and to have an education system that's built in the basically non-duality and the quantum mechanics of the universe versus any sort of modality of spirituality. It's like, I believe that when you say the word quantum, we have our own tribe that just understand that at a visceral level. And we're like, wait, you said something about quantum? I'm interested in this. And so we've all kind of found each other. And this academy is about really being responsible for the alchemist that you are, which means it's a responsibility. It's a full-time job to be able to say, nothing is happening outside of me except frequency and vibration. Match the frequency that I want to experience, and I will have that reality. And after that weekend, we're going to make it 99% probable that all they have to do is continue that perspective in order to manifest their dreams, to shift into abundance. But it's nice to have a school and a team and a collective and a community, which I'm very picky about, as far as the commiseration that goes on behind the scenes. We don't have any of that. We have a non-duality, non-judgmental community that I monitor and keep the frequency in love or above. So it is all about having that to fall into when you come home and, you've just been in this beautiful place, and you've been around these amazing people, and you've drinking this quantum water, and then you come home to a pile of laundry. It's like, how are you going to see that versus how would you see that? Because your mindset will be different, and you'll say, wow, I actually have created a beautiful family where I can take care of them and show them I love them through this laundry experience that feels like absolute joy, right? It's about presence and awareness and purpose versus have tos and shoulds, all of the things that get us resentful and separate us from each other.
Yes, and also I think it's really important that you're the ongoing course, so that people can find that support, that you're offering that. That's really amazing and very generous.
Yeah,
Jessica, it's offering that.
Well, to me, especially for this first one, I don't know if we'll always do that, but for this first one, because like you said, this time is so pivotal in history, I want to maximize the effects of these tours. And this has never been a money game for me. I've never done this for money. I was telling someone the other day, I'm like, I don't have a plan B. This is all I am. And as long as I am who I am, somehow the universe supports me in that. And so it's not about my bottom line in this tour. It is about living my absolute mission of why I came. And this time in this space, to not only be a teacher, but a mother. It's like I get to experience both sides of that divine feminine support that we're bringing to this planet. And if I have that to offer, then to me, it's just the perfect next step. So I believe, honestly, I had to build the academy to get ready for the tour. The tour then will be supported by the academy. So it's a perfect paradigm unfolding.
And it'll support the greatest fear and the most concern is to not have the support after. It's
the biggest trigger people have, is they leave the high and they fall into the lows, and we're not going to let that happen.
And that was even one of the reasons for the technology, is because there's so much of that going on where people actually just kind of keep falling off the cliff. And so that stability, but that you can have within the fields that are being generated. But it's very true. That's a key thing. it is an experience. And the other point I wanted to make is that the group accelerates the transformation rapidly. In this time particularly, I think always when a group gets together, there's acceleration, but in this time particularly, this is an interesting open window. So it's important to realize that it's something about the melding of that group and what happens from there. Who knows what that will be?
It's, well, what I've been told by my team is that it will not just have an impact on those 300 people. It will have an impact on the planet because of our intention. And because we are saying yes to this door opening, and yes, we are here, and yes, we are ready, and yes, we are here to receive, then that is kind of like that 100 monkey effect of anyone that is in alignment with that frequency anywhere on the planet will receive that download. And that is, to me, is how we're going to amplify and expand the planet quickly, is by being able to act it in a physical reality, but have it explode into parallel realities by just the intention and the frequencies.
Yes, that's a very good vision.
Yes.
That's happening.
Yes, it is. I mean, every ounce of work we've ever done on ourselves has affected the whole, because we are unified through the heart field and we are all connected. So when I work on myself, I do clean up my bloodline. I do clean up my lineage. I do impact anyone that can feel and sense that vibration in alignment with those same desires and needs. And so I know that by working on myself, I've impacted others. And when I got confident about it, right, then we can show up. So I know we're probably at time, you and I could talk for 1,000 years, and I know we have.
We've been planning for thousands of years for this time.
That's right. We have, this is the show everyone has been waiting for, and we get to not only watch, but we get to live this ascension in motion. We get to evolve our consciousness and our potential in a lifetime. I mean, that is just, you know, usually this takes thousands of years to even feel the effect of what we've done in the last 20. So it's just an amazing time for us to be alive. And, you know, we all need to be courageous in our investments towards ourselves. You know, I always say spend money 2 ways: on your highest joy and investing in yourself, because it's going to come right back to you through the universal law of reflection. And so for those of you that can make it, that feel inspired, and if you're a little scared, that's exactly when you should do it. Get on a plane, right? And get here and enjoy this tour with us and be a part of history, because that's really what we're doing here. And finding Helena is almost like finding a missing piece of my work, honestly. And it gets me emotional, because I know that the work that we're doing, you have created systems that can be in every home on the planet, where we could counteract any negative frequency that's going through our own field. So I want you all to visit Helena's website after you get off of this interview here. One website, because you've got tons of goodies. I mean, you'll be able to experience it all live on the tour, but if you can't for some reason make it, you know, start working with what you have and where you are. So tell us where your website is.
quantumsoundtherapy.com. So it's like we chose the name for this. And yeah, enjoy. We'll give some very special, as I have to talk to Jessica about this, we'll give some very special specials as well for the group.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, there are specials. We're creating some codes, so we'll announce that a little bit later, so that you can get some special discounts and so on.
Yes, and the water's on there, and all of her technology is on there, and it ranges from, you know, travel to permanent positions. We're going to have a little bit of everything on the tour, and we're going to be using it live, so you'll really be able to experience the whole the whole experience. So yes, please check out her website. I will have Melanie on tomorrow night, and we are going to be talking about quantum breath work, which is very cool, and how we're going to be integrating that into the tour, and her amazing alchemy bath bombs that she's going to be creating individually for each person for their journey to help them continue to expand afterwards. And we're just going to talk more about the tour. We couldn't be more excited for you guys to join us. It's not too late. Again, for every ticket that you purchase, depending on VIP or regular tickets, you either get a 1-year scholarship to TICA, which is Transcendence International Consciousness Academy, or you get a lifetime membership, because this work is going to be ongoing and it's just going to get more fun. So we're creating quantum games right now, we're creating more curriculum, and we're creating more tours. So enjoy this interview that we've did tonight. Look for our interview tomorrow night. I will post the time. Thank you so much, Helena, for being here. And I cannot wait to experience this with you.
We are looking forward to being there with you. Yes.
I will talk to you probably soon, because you and I have lots of talking to do.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us, guys.
Yes. Good night.
Good night.